All right, welcome everybody. Today we are going to be talking about our SEO quick audit guide for family law firms. So we've been going through our quick audit guide series here. We got a page on our website called SEO Quick Audit Guide for Family Law Firms. So if you want to read through the specifics of what I'm going to talk about, it's where it's all at. So we've done one of these on citations. Citations connect to this. We've done one on website performance and conversion pathing. That connects to this, but one of the core pieces to getting your site to rank in search engines and on maps is not only your citations, but also how well are you building your website up. So we're going to talk about it from a content and SEO perspective today. There are 5 parts to our guide for this one, 5 big categories, and we got a couple subcategories for each one. So one of the 5 main categories are core pages. So these are kind of the core pages of your site. We'll talk about those. We're going to talk about helpful content. So these are all the pages that are going to help support those core pages. Number 3 is backlinks. What does your backlink profile look like? Number 4, how well are you optimizing the content that's on your core pages and your helpful content pages with on-page SEO optimization techniques? So how well are you doing that? We'll talk through those. I think there's 5 or 6 elements there. And then number 5, how well are you internally linking your website? Or are you creating orphaned sideload link equity portions of your site and actually preventing yourself from ranking because of how you have your site interlinked? So we're going to talk about all of that. So first, let's talk about core pages. So the way that we look at it, there are 4 categories of core pages. You got your service pages. So these are kind of like if you're a family law attorney, you probably have 5 or 6 of these at least at a minimum. You got divorce, you got property division, you got child support, you got custody, and you got alimony. So those are minimum of your 5. And then if you're doing other things, adoptions, prenups, postnups, are you doing anything with TPRs? What else might you be doing? Those would also be some considerations. But we're going to start with the big 5 as service pages. So how well are we creating these individual pages if we're doing divorce or custody or paternity actions? How well are we those individual pages? How well are we making those hubs, incorporating really clear pieces of information that clients are going to have questions to? How are we internally linking from those big service hubs to kind of specific areas of each of those? How does the process work? What do the laws say specifically? Then how do we deal with some specific situations, some niche specific situations? So those are all important. How are those pages coming along? Second subcategory is attorneys. Attorney pages are so important on family law sites. When people are hiring a family attorney, they are literally interviewing you from the moment they're looking at your website. So if they can't find information on you and you make them do all of that in the consultation, the likelihood that they are going to pay attention to everything you have to say and build that trust is going to go lower. Like, you have tons of opportunities on your website and through socials to talk about who you are, what your expertise is, what you've done, show your client reviews. Do you have professional photos? Where are you notated in industry, in other industry sites, whether that's Avo or Super Lawyers or Best Lawyers or any of the above? So how are we showcasing the attorney, all of the attorneys at the firm on our attorney pages? Super important. Number 3, location pages. Each location that you have, whether if you're just a one location firm or a multi-location firm, you need to have a location page specifically for that specific city, for that city and the location that you have. So ideally, unless you're in a really big city like Chicago or Minneapolis, you're probably going to have one location for each particular city you're in. In the Milwaukee area that we serve, we have a location page for Milwaukee. We have one for Menominee Falls. We have one for West Bend. We have one for Mequon. We have one where we have actual physical locations. but we don't have one for every single city in the state. Those are not location pages. Those are called something different. That's our fourth topic. But on our location pages, are we making sure that the client understands where this thing is located, what services we offer from that location, what do the reviews look like from that location, which attorneys service that location? How are we making this a specific experience for that particular location? It's super important. The more engaging and authentic we can make it, the higher the conversion rates are going to be. And then number 4, our fourth subtopic, is service area pages. So we're not going to have a location page in every single city that is in the state. But if we want to bolster those locations that we have, we should have service area pages that are in and around the location that is serviced out of that particular location hub. So for example, we are Sterling Lawyers that we built. We have a location in Milwaukee. That Milwaukee location services West Allis. It also services Wauwatosa. It also services West Milwaukee. It also services South Milwaukee, so on and so forth. So we have service area pages that interlink in our site, and the interlinking we'll talk about later, that interlink to the location pages that we have. So that way we are sending local signals to that location page. And when you look at the SERPs, we will rank in all of those different areas because we're very intentional about how we interlink our site and how we leverage that to our advantage. So service area pages are important, and leveraging specific interlinking strategies will help you rank in all of the areas where you don't actually have a physical location. You won't necessarily show up in the map, but you will show up organically. So those are the 4 core page types that we want: service area pages, attorney pages, location pages, and service area pages. So it's important to have these. It's important to build these out and just go through the process of doing this. That will help you rank really well organically. All right, second big topic, helpful content. So helpful content is going to be connected to a content marketing series that we will also do. Parts of content marketing will show up on your site. Not everything you do from a content marketing perspective will show up on your site, but a lot of it will, and a lot of it has a lot of SEO opportunity. So there are three categories of content that we want to consider here, and each is going to have, each can go deeper, but there are 3 main buckets that we're going to look at. So the first one is niche situation articles. So these are going to be things, examples would be 50-50 custody, an article on 50-50 custody. It's a highly searched term in every state in the country. This is something that you should be covering. What happens to the marital home? That's another one. How is child support calculated? That's another one. There are lots of these very niche specific situations, and then you can further niche them down. What does child support look like for high income individuals? What does it look like for low income? What about multiple people with lots and lots of children? Because those are very different situations after you get past a certain number. So how do we address these very specific situations so that we can have articles on them? There's some really great opportunities, some that are going to drive better quality traffic than others. If you write, for example, pensions are very complicated when you separate them. It's not easy for the general public to navigate that topic. Do you have an article about how that works? Because depending on the pension type and the state laws that you're working with, there's very likely an opportunity for these things to get very specific, and then you're going to drive traffic very specifically for those types of people that have those types of pensions. It's a great opportunity. So how are you addressing niche situations, and then using those to interlink to the rest of your site as a supporting content opportunity? Number 2, attorney articles. So how are we going deep with our attorneys? So we have an attorney hub. We should be talking about that's their bio, that's their profile. We should have their awards there where they've been recognized. We should have client reviews on those pages. Where did they go to school? All of that stuff. But where can attorneys have opportunity to write more articles about things that they're passionate about, why they became a family attorney, the things that are from their perspective, how they practice, what helps the clients that work with them. You can go deeper and deeper into that opportunity, because what you really want to do is how can you set up that initial engagement with that attorney in a consultation room where they feel more authentic, they feel more human, they're less scary, there's trust already built in connection with potential clients. So there's a lot that can be done just through articles and videos on attorneys. So how can you foster those different types of things? That'll help create a very unique client experience. They'll be very helpful to prospective clients coming to you, because they can really get to know you before they even talk to you in the room. And you're going to put your best foot forward. So let's do a good job and create those opportunities, because that's going to drive your consultations. All right. Number 3 here under helpful content, local content and stories. So how can we be very local with the stories that we tell, talking about legal developments locally, big cases that might be happening locally, things that we're doing in the community, different case studies that we might be able to reference. What we want to do with these is create these and then interlink these into our location pages. Typically, if we're talking about a specific situation locally and attorneys involved, so we can interlink to an attorney page, and depending on, again, the article type, it could integrate into one of the service pages if they were helping someone with a divorce or paternity, or this such and such a thing happened in this court, or these attorneys rotated out of service, and here's the new one that's in, and here's what we know about that particular judge. So there's a lot of opportunities here to engage and be locally relevant that will help support the rest of your site from an SEO perspective if you're interlinking well. So helpful content is the second section. There are 3 big buckets here: niche situations, attorney articles, and local content and stories. So those are great opportunities. They're going to really bolster those core content pieces that we talked about. All right, number 3, and this one is important. And important to do right. And if you do this one and get really aggressive and you do leverage PBNs and you do some, more gray or black hat things here, if you don't do them right, you could get yourself in trouble. If you don't know what you're doing, you might accidentally be stepping on a rake and smacking yourself in the face. So we'll talk about this a little bit. So there's 3 buckets here. First, we're going to talk about the quality of your backlinks. So where are we getting backlinks from? Are we getting them from authoritative websites, or are they spammy? Are we getting them from ideally the legal industry? So are we getting stuff from legal directories and different legal sites, things that are connected to government or the legal space generally, academic journals? Where are we getting some of these from? So ideally, we want some really quality backlinks from high authoritative sites. So that's the first one. Second one is the quantity of backlinks. So do we have a robust volume, a large volume of backlinks that are coming to our site? A lot of this can be done through citation building that we talked about in one of our earlier quick audits. But we also want to get it from other places. So do we have a large quantity of authoritative sites that we're getting these from? Authoritative and semi-authoritative are great. This doesn't need to be perfect. There is no perfect ideal. You're going to have a vast array. If you only have links from super highly authoritative sites, it's going to look really unnatural, because that's not how sites look generally. And Google's going to analyze that, or whatever search engine's going to analyze that and say you look unnatural compared to the rest of the space. So something must be amiss. But quantity of backlinks is really important. Gives you lots of opportunity. So this is where writing helpful content, sharing it, and engaging in communities online is really important, because this can help foster and build these types of things up for you. All right, number 3, and this one's the one that's actually done the worst, because it's people overdo something that used to work really well, back in late 90s, early 2000s, but it is not that time anymore. And it's your backlink anchor text diversity. So What we talk about here at Rocket Clicks and what we've done for Sterling is we do not want a lot of keyword stuffed anchor text links coming to our site. We actually go out of our way, if they happen, to get rid of them on purpose, because the reality is that can, especially if you're using locations and those are interlinked to the wrong pages, you will mess up how well you're going to rank both in the maps and organically in cities that you want to rank for if you have an over index of highly authoritative backlinks that are specific to, example, Milwaukee. So when we first started doing this, and we learned this out of testing it and screwing this up at first, we started in one area, in the Milwaukee area, and then we moved to Madison. But a lot of our backlinks at the beginning of our firm's launch, they had Milwaukee in them. And then we opened our Madison location. And what ended up happening is 1 week or over a couple weeks, Madison would rank and Milwaukee would fall out. And then it would flip-flop. Milwaukee would rank and Madison would completely fall out. And you can only imagine what occurred from a business perspective, because we had lead flow here in Milwaukee at 1 week, then it would go away and we'd have it here in Madison. And then boop, 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 boop. It was like we were milking a cow and it was not working very well. It was terrible. It was terrible experience. What fixed it was we went through and we did a lot of outreach and scrubbed the heck out of our backlink profile so that we had branded terms are great. Natural naked URLs are fantastic. And natural language is fantastic. So if you think about what typically occurs in backlinks, most people like click here, visit site. Those types of things are naturally linked all over the internet. If you have something super specific like Milwaukee divorce lawyers, that's not typically how people interlink on the internet. So if you have a lot of that, you're likely going to limit your ability to grow into multiple other locations. If you're only going to ever be one location, you're probably never going to run into this. But as soon as you start growing into multiple locations, and especially if they're going to be like primary hubs of regions, like Milwaukee versus Madison versus Green Bay, you're going to run into this issue because you're going to be over-indexed and you're going to have a problem ranking in these other ones. So we're going to really want to avoid that. But we want branded terms, we want naked URLs, we want natural language like click here or visit site. If there are other ones that are, not overly keyword stuffed, it's fine. Having a couple that are like that are fine, but if your entire profile, 15, 20, 30% is overly stuffed anchor text, you're going to have yourself an issue. So backlinks, there are 3 categories again. Quality of the backlinks, quantity of the backlinks, and your anchor text diversity. Preferably, these are branded naked URLs, which are just the URL. That's exactly what it sounds like. And natural language type opportunities. So that's what we're looking for there from backlinks. Number 4. Our 4th category on SEO is on-page SEO. So this is really important. This usually gets screwed up when firms build their website out, because they will hire someone to build their website who's a website developer. They do a great job building beautiful websites. What a lot of times happens is that firm or person that built a beautiful website built a terrible SEO plan, because they don't really care about the SEO, and they're going to use the natural settings in WordPress as an example, or in whatever content management system you're using, to change how things look on a page. And they don't know those things are actually negatively impacting their SEO. So things we're looking for here are title tags. That one's easy, but it's often not optimized very well. We're looking for headers. This one is screwed up so often. At most times when we get a website, we can make massive improvements just by improving the headers. And we'll talk about that a little bit. Schema data, often missing, not there. So this is a way that we can communicate directly with Google in their language very specifically, giving them things like their kindergartner. How do we draw this in crayon as a way to think about it? If we can draw it in crayon for them, they will get it. They will understand that this is red because it's coded red, not because they have to read the image as red. And there's a way to do that. Meta descriptions. So how are we helping improve our click-through rates and engagements on the search engines? And the last one here is image optimization. How are we optimizing our image with file names, with alt text, with EXIF data, so there are opportunities there. So title tags. We want to make sure these are keyword-rich titles, and they also have our brand in them. That should always happen. What's the keyword-rich title? What's the exact keyword we're going after for this page? What's the second and third? How do we make a title tag that concludes all of these three combinations, and then put our brand on it? So many times we don't see this done well. Second one, headers. This is the one that's done the worst. I think our worst homepage we've ever received had 77 H1s on it. And when you're in WordPress and you're looking at the little selector in your text editor, and it says title, or it says paragraph, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, heading 5, all the way down. That specific thing is communication to the robot, to the Google bots. So if you think about it like this, every single page on the internet is essentially a research paper. It's a good way to think about it. The title of the research paper, there should only be one title. There's not multiple titles. There's one title. That is the title tag. We just talked about that. Your header, you should really have one subtitle, which is your H1. You shouldn't have multiple subtitles. That's very confusing. It doesn't make any sense. You should have one subtitle. It's your H1. It should include your primary keyword that you are trying to rank for, which is probably the same as or a very close variant to what you have in your title. Now you have H2s. These are the big bulleted, if you remember when you had to do outlines when you were in school, your H2s are the primary sections of the web page. You shouldn't have 900 H2s unless you have an extraordinarily long page. You should have 3 to 4. H3s are the subsections of your main categories. So if you have 3 main categories, 3 H2s, and you have 3 subsections for each H2, those would be your H3s, and so on and so forth. So misusing this is extraordinarily confusing to the Googlebot because it doesn't know what you're trying to communicate. So as it reads, when Googlebot comes to your site, it's going to grab your title tag and your H1s, and it's going to say, what is this about? And if it doesn't understand what it's about, if you can't pull just that information off your web page, the title and the headers, and understand what this page is about, your page won't rank. It's so simple, but it's also done so poorly so often. So this is something that's very easy to fix and optimize. And if you want something to look different and pretty, we can easily throw span tags on there and create custom classes to make the words bolded or colored or whatever we want using CSS styling. That's how you do that. You don't use headers. Ideally, you don't use headers because it is not going to help you. It's actually going to make you rank worse. Web developers often do this. When a web developer hands a site over to an SEO, that's almost always what we have to work with. We have several big clients that we work with that are more regionally based. And I know one just went through a massive website redesign. They had about 20,000 pages, and the web development team, the company they hired to redevelop the site, were in charge of how it creatively looked and functioned and flowed and all of that stuff. We stayed on through that whole project just so they didn't screw up how well they ranked. That was our only purpose. And as we launched, nothing got screwed up because we kept on with them and kept going through all of the different opportunities that they had to make the site look better and function better for the user, but not screw up what they've already built and invested in from an SEO standpoint by us just doing this analysis on every single page as they redesign their site. Headers are super important. Number 3 is schema data. So schema data is a very specific type of data. You can go to schema.org. You can see all of these different data types. And what this is structured data that's very specifically designed for the robots to consume effectively. So this is another example of, if you go to a web page and you just pull the schema data, do you understand what the page is about? Because if you don't, then you're hoping that Google will crawl the page and interpret the title and the headers and all of the other body copy on the page and make its own self-determination, versus you using schema data and you telling it exactly what this is about. So then you have two sources of information that shouldn't conflict. And if they don't and support each other, you're going to have a higher likelihood of ranking faster for the content that you're trying to rank for, because you're communicating really well with Google. That's what schema data is. So it's something that's not overly difficult. There's lots of sites online that will help you write it. Obviously, SEOs know how to write it. This is something that we help clients with all the time, right? Make recommendations. And for each of the big core pages that we talked about above, there's different types of schema data that you're going to want on all these pages, so that you're properly communicating with Google that this is a person, and here are the attributes of that person. This is a location, and it's attached to this brand, and here's all the attributes about the location, so on and so forth. These are different opportunities that are very ripe for the picking from an SEO perspective. Number 4 here is meta descriptions. So these are really going to help you rank better indirectly. They don't actually count towards ranking, but if you don't have a meta description that you've picked for Google to display on the search engine result, it will just pick whatever it wants. So just like in paid search, we get to write titles and descriptions and put in extensions and all of that stuff. We get the same opportunity in SEO through meta descriptions. And if we write a good meta description that's more engaging, we will get a higher click-through rate. And what that will do is we've improved our user metrics, and that will help us rise up the rankings. So we want concise, compelling, focused keywords or focused meta descriptions, so that we can improve our click-through rates on the search engine pages. And then number 5 is image optimization. So this one's also typically done poorly. When Google crawls your site, it wants to know what it's looking at. Now, AI is helping with that, but still having a image of your location on a location page that doesn't say something to the effect of Sterling Lawyers, Menominee Falls office would be a great descriptor of that image if we are taking an external picture of that location. And what we've done there is we've included several keywords that are going to help optimize the rank of that page. And when Google looks at it, it's going to say, okay, here's the title, here's the headers, here's the schema data, here's the image, and here's what the image optimization data says. Do you have an alt description that describes what it is for those that need the for visually impaired folks, that if they hover over it, it will then use the language that's in there to communicate to them that what they're seeing, what they could be seeing if they weren't visually impaired. And what's the EXIF data? So there's different types of data that you can input into an image so that you can further optimize it. And there's different tools you can use to do that. And all of that will continue to further optimize that page from an SEO perspective, on page, the technical on page, so that it ranks better in Google. So number 4, like we just went through it, there are 5 different pieces. This is your on-page SEO optimization: title tags, headers, schema data, meta descriptions, and image optimization. How are we doing with those things? And then finally, number 5. So this is the one, this is something that I believe is done accidentally most often, because it's not something that's really understood all that well, even in the SEO community. So if you have a site and you have good core content, you have helpful content, you're doing on-page structured data well, and you have backlinks coming into some of this helpful content and your homepage and everything, what you want to make sure you're doing is being very strategic about how you're internally linking your body copy. So when you think about internal linking, Google's going to downplay or degrade the value of anything that's in your header or your footer. What they will consider more valuable is how are you linking in your body copy. So if you are strategically putting links in your body copy on let's just use an example of a helpful content page that's about what happens to the marital home during a divorce. What we're going to want to do is, ideally, an attorney wrote it, and it's their opinion. It's an opinion piece on them, maybe for a specific area. Maybe it's specifically for how they've seen this happen over their career in MEC1. and we're going to have their opinion, how this works in Mequon, Wisconsin. Ideally, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to interlink from that page to the attorney's profile, to the brand, the homepage brand through a brand keyword. So Attorney Bob Smith, we're going to want to link Attorney Bob Smith to the attorney profile. We're going to want to link Sterling Lawyers, our brand name, to the homepage. We're going to want to link the word Mequon, or Mequon, Wisconsin, to the Mequon page. And what we've just done is we've done and then we'll also want to link from, because this is about marital property, we'll want to link to our property division page from this as well. So what we've done is we've just interlinked this helpful piece of content to all of our core content pages. We hit a home page, which is really important because that will continue. If I'll tell you why in a second. Hit the home page, we've hit a location page, we've hit an attorney page, and we've hit a core service page. So why this is important is if this piece of content that we just created gets picked up and shared on other websites or gets linked to from other websites, if we don't internally link, what we're going to end up doing is diminishing the effectiveness and the equity that we just earned by getting that external link to the rest of the site, because it'll help this page rank. But if we're not interlinking to the other pages on our site, none of these other pages that are really important for us to drive business are going to benefit from that internal link or from that external link. We got an external link coming in. It's essentially like a power cord. It's like a house with power. So you have a terminal that comes to your house. That's how you get power in your home. If you don't have your house wired well, your lights won't go on in the main rooms that you have. So a lot of times, if you think about where is your external power connected, if only that specific area of the home lit up because that's where it was linked to from outside, and you didn't strategically wire the house so that everything worked, which is over here, these pages that we talked about, these different rooms in your house, they're not going to have any lights. They're not going to have any power. Your garbage disposal isn't going to work. The light above your stove isn't going to work. The overhead lights in your kitchen aren't going to work. And you're going to have a hard time cooking because you can't see anything, because the power comes in maybe in a spare bedroom, or maybe it comes into the house, into the basement, and all you can now see, because you didn't wire your house correctly, is you can only see in that one room, or maybe you can only see in your basement. But instead, if we internally link this well, what's going to end up happening is all of these really important places are going to move up in the rankings. And when we're building helpful content, what we're ideally doing is we're creating opportunities for external links to link to us, because we're creating something of value that's specific to a particular group of people that they will then share and leverage, and that will then come back. And if we internally link it well, all of this other stuff will go up. So internal linking is really important. We want to see it when we analyze this using some of our tools. We're going to want to see the homepage internally linked the most. Service pages, attorney pages, and location pages the second most. If we're going to break those down, ideally the location pages as an aggregate are going to be second to the home pages. The attorney pages are going second to third to the home page and the location for. Because ideally, that's where we're going to have the most opportunity to move different link equity through the site around. So, shared a lot with you on this video. So there are 5 big sections that we look at when we do our audits for SEO: core page development, helpful content development to support those core pages, backlinks, backlink profile, quality, quantity, and diversity of anchor text, on-page SEO optimization, and then how well are we internally linking the site. Hopefully it's helpful. This is all, like I said, on our website here. There's a page called SEO Quick Audit Guide for Family Law Firms. You can do this yourself, or we'd be happy to help you and do it for you.